Thanks, guys. Alan, welcome to FreightWaves Now this morning. We've got a lot to cover on our plate this morning. Starting off talking about, though, another big news of some acquisitions going on. Talk to us about what's going on with Amazon and Plus.
Okay, well, let's not use the word acquisition at this point. What we have going on, and Amazon was very, very specific yesterday. Let's call it that, about what they're really doing. We reported in Truck Talk back in May that they were a great candidate to be the customer that was going to purchase 1,000 trucks. Let's correct that. It's not trucks. It's autonomous systems for trucks, which is what Plus makes. So, in their investor deck, as part of the proposed SPAC for Plus to come public, the sponsor disclosed that there was this contract, sales agreement, basically, to sell 1,000 systems to some customer. They didn't identify who could then get a warrant to purchase up to 20% of the company. Well, that looked really familiar because it had just happened, and Amazon had just done that in the renewable natural gas space with a company called Clean Fuels. So a little bit of speculation, because I get to do that in Truck Talk, suggested that maybe the Amazon smile was at play. Then yesterday, what we had was a filing with the SEC where the SPAC sponsor, which is Hennessy, they do a lot of SPACs, by the way, said that yes, Amazon Logistics was the customer, and the deal was that if they spent up to $150 million on these systems, these autonomous systems for trucks, then they could buy up to 20% of Plus, first as preferred shares, and then ultimately, if the SPAC goes through, they would become common shares. Interesting play for Amazon. They're getting into these technologies, and they're getting in what you'd have to say is a pretty big way.
So, Alan, is there a third party here where these systems can be put in, right? I mean, they're the systems for trucks. They're not the trucks themselves.
Right.
So what's
Michael,
the next move here?
Good morning, Michael. I would have to think, though, and we don't know this, but we'd have to think that Amazon is going to buy the trucks.
Yeah.
Plus has said that their system will run pretty much in anybody's truck. So
yeah.
I don't know that it'll have to be a certain tractor or anything like that. But basically, I think that's going to probably be Amazon's call. And it's a detail we just don't know right now. What's interesting, though, is this, and this is where I think the real story is in this. We just went through the Too Simple autonomous company going public through an IPO. And as one of the things that had to happen was they had a lot of Chinese investment. They have a Chinese co-founder, two of them actually, that founded Too Simple. And what's got to happen now, or what did happen at the time of the initial public offering, was some of the Chinese investors had to go away, because there's a group called the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. It's an acronym of CFIUS. And CFIUS basically keeps an eye on foreign investment in terms of national security threats and things like that. Sounds very ominous, but basically they let it be known that they didn't like the amount of ownership that one of the investors from China had in Too Simple, so they had to unwind it. What the Amazon thing does at Plus, because Plus has many more Chinese investors, including a lot of the lead investors are Chinese, having Amazon involved takes some of that heat off. So if Amazon ends up buying this stock, and our headline says that they bought it, they didn't buy it. Or excuse me, our Chiron down there says that they bought it. They haven't bought anything yet. But if they should go through and exercise on this warrant, then an American company essentially becomes a bigger player and arguably a major holder of Plus stock. So there could be some of that at play here to sort of ward off the CFIUS thing that's clearly going to happen, I think, if they do decide to make this an American company, which I think they would.
And so, Alan, we've talked a lot about how Too Simple is kind of running ahead of schedule when it comes to their plans to expand into this AV market across the United States. Give us a little bit of compare and contrast between Too Simple and Plus. And will this, if Amazon decides to make this play, will this kind of springboard Plus ahead of where Too Simple is forecasting that they'll be?
Probably not. You've got a couple of different approaches going on with these companies as well as some of the other competitors. But speaking about Too Simple, They are expanding their mapping. You have to map these routes so that the robots know what to do, right?
Mhm.
And so they're expanding their mapping. They should be to the East Coast, to Charlotte, and I believe Orlando by the end of the year, according to their estimates. And that would allow them to run these autonomous trucks. So remember, right now, an autonomous truck does have a safety driver. So it has robotic functions, but it's being monitored at all times. Now, Too Simple in the fourth quarter says that they're going to run a pilot in Arizona where they'll take the driver out of the truck. And there's a lot of anticipation about what that means and how that'll play out. Ultimately, that's the state that this whole industry is going to get to, we think. But for right now, you still have people that are able to take over the truck's control. So Too Simple is focused heavily on the U.S. at this point. They do have some trucks in China, equipped trucks that they're running there, but their big effort is here in the U.S. Their main partner is Navistar. Navistar and Too Simple will build a truck together for 2024 that will be an autonomous truck for long haul. And they have a lot of supporters for that. They've got a good long list of investors that are also advisors to the company. Plus has been a little different in that it has largely focused on China so far. Its main partner is First Auto Works, or FAW, in China, and they are one of the big customers as well for their systems. Plus will begin installing systems in FAW trucks this year, and they will begin doing retrofits in the U.S., presumably for Amazon and other customers they haven't named in the U.S. this year. So they're both moving ahead. The differences in terms of how they've come public or will come public. Too Simple took the hard route, quite honestly, and went with an IPO. Its stock has appreciated. It's up about 20% since its debut in April. And it seems to have a lot of positive ratings from the analyst community. Plus, is going, as we mentioned earlier, the SPAC route. They will probably close on their business combination. I'm thinking it's going to be third quarter now. I don't see how they get it done in this quarter, the second quarter, because it ends at the end of the month. So, but they are moving ahead. They've got investment. They've raised, north of $400 million. So they're in pretty good shape as well. A little more opaqueness, I think, with Plus than perhaps with Too Simple.
Very interesting moves being happening there. Amazon's always interesting when they're there, right? I remember when people were saying, "Are they going to become a logistics company?" Right? Well, are they going to become a tech company now? I would say yes. They're going to do that. We'll be looking back saying, "Yep, they're the big tech leader." Right. They seem to do that type of stuff. We've got some other news there. You got some updates on what's going on over at Volvo?
Yeah, boy, what a protracted mess that is. It's the second strike already this year by the United Auto Workers at Volvo in Virginia. Now, Volvo makes all of its trucks in North America in Dublin at what they call the New River Valley operations. Since February, when they started talking about a new contract, things have been pretty ugly. They extended the agreement from 5-year-old agreement. They extended it for 30 days. Then finally in April, the extension expired. They went on strike. The UAW went on strike for 2 weeks. Their own leaders, their own union leaders, called them back to work, said, "Go back to work. We'll try again." Came up with a second tentative agreement. The workers said, "No, thank you." And I mean, not just a little bit, but like 9-1 against. And so they went back on strike. And that was, this is heading into the third week now of that strike. A couple interesting things about this is that, a lot of the news from this, quite honestly, comes from what people say on Facebook at the union page, the local 2069 page. They're as mad, quite honestly, at their union leaders as they are at the company. They don't think the bargainers have done a good job. They think the international union based here in Detroit has sold them out and is basically, going along with the company on a lot of things. So you've got some issues there in terms of who's mad at who, and really where is that anger focused. It does appear now that the international union and the local are starting to work together. And they have talks will resume again tomorrow on Wednesday, I should say. And we'll see what happens this time. But you've got a lot of unhappy people out there. The strike now has begun to affect some of the shifts at Hagerstown, Maryland, which is where the Volvo Group, which consists of Volvo Trucks, North America, and Mack Trucks, builds engines. So, you've had some shifts come out there. This strike is a little different from the one that hit Mack in 2019 because that one took down pretty much all of Volvo Group's facilities because the union representation at all of those places. This strike is focused only at New River Valley, but as I mentioned, you're already seeing some impacts on the powertrain side in Maryland. So it's ugly, and it's gone on for a really long time, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they settle this.
So it's not only Volvo strikes that's making the news, it's also what they're adding to their trucks. Alan, we talked a little bit about this and how it's kind of a strange thing to do, but Volvo is actually adding truck sounds to their EV trucks, I guess, to replace the lost feeling of losing those sounds.
I don't know how crazy it is because, Alan, I was there when we went to electric forklifts. And the first time we rolled out a fleet of like 100 forklifts on a break bulk dock in LTL, there was no noise. It was very strange. Production went down. Safety became a big concern. You couldn't hear them coming, so we had to add noise to them. So anyways.
So we've got those sounds. Can we hear them? It sounds like a spaceship to me.
It sounds like a sleep app that I use when I'm traveling, right?
I think it sounds like a spaceship.
You throw a little thunder cloud and a little rain on top of that, and I'd be napping.
Alan, give us just a quick little 30-second synopsis. Why did they decide to do this?
Well, basically, let's just say that it's so people know these trucks are coming. I mean, Michael, you hit the point exactly. Silence is deadly in this case, especially for blind people. And we did talk to the National Federation for the Blind about this. There are rules that went into effect here in the U.S. in March that require sounds, but they're only for light vehicles. They're not for heavy-duty trucks. So it's all over the place. You can go back and read Truck Talk from Friday to get a rundown of who's kind of doing what. What's interesting about the Volvo trucks is those sounds are not coming to the VNR Electric here. They're going to do something a little different. So that was kind of interesting that they're not bringing them here. But I thought they sounded a little new agey to me, quite honestly.
Yeah. I figured it would, be like, traditional truck sounds, not like,
Not like,
I don't know.
Coming to
Deep Thoughts with Alan Adler.
Alan, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it this morning. Like you said, go read Truck Talk from last Friday. It comes out every Friday afternoon.